Welcome back, everybody, to the Wiseman Say podcast. Ty Fisher, Gerald Lucas, Derek Abbott with Nick from Feed the Fire podcast, Glass House Soccer. You guys know him on X. Nick, how's it been, man?
Hey, doing real well. Getting very excited for the season. Nice to finally have something to look forward to than just more meaningless Premier League games on the weekend. So, yeah, excited, man.
Excited also is a fun term that we are throwing around here because we get to play Chicago as our home opener. We haven't lost to the Chicago Fire since June 13th or June 12th, 22nd of 2013. So that's also going to be exciting. And you guys have our former coach, Greg Berhalter. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Gerald, Derek, how you boys doing?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Wish it was
really
warm.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I apologize.
Of warmer weather.
Yeah, apologize for my voice. I have very bad sinuses, but enough of that. We are here to talk about the game on Saturday. The Chicago Fire coming to town to Columbus to open up the 2025 MLS season. 7:30 p.m. kickoff at Lower.com Field. Nick, just talk about the last season, right? Did it go as planned for you? Did it not go as planned for you? What did you think of the 2024 campaign of the Chicago Fire?
See what you're asking? It's like the old lawyer trope. Only ask a question you already know the answer to. So when you're saying, how did the season go, Nick? We all know the answer to that question.
I have to ask.
It was bad. As you all know, the Chicago Fire ended up finishing bottom of the Eastern Conference, second worst in the league, only to San Jose. Thank you, Quakes, for keeping us from another wooden spoon. It was just pretty much a lame duck season. That's how I describe it. We knew that a lot of the players on that roster weren't going to be here long term. We knew that the coaching staff was just kind of slapped together just to be able to have a coaching staff for the year. You saw Frank Klopas take off the interim tag and become the full head coach for another season. But again, that was just because they couldn't really find anyone else that they really wanted to step in as the manager there. So it was a lame duck season. There was really nothing going for the Fire. We saw the departure of Xherdan Shaqiri. We saw during this offseason, once Greg Berhalter got control of this roster, and he is also the director of sport. He is the end-all, be-all when it comes to the sporting side of the Chicago Fire Club now, and he flipped half the roster. There are 13 or 14 players no longer on it. So it was definitely a season to forget, and by all means, we are trying to forget it by replacing as many of these players as we can.
When did you see, what part of the season was it, pretty much spelled out clear as day that Chicago was leaning towards, the new sporting director, new coach, maybe sort of like a tank, if you will, for the season?
So I think we knew that fairly early on, even in the prior offseason, when they announced that Frank Klopas was coming back as the head coach. That was when we all knew, okay, there's no way he's a long-term solution. He had been the interim, or he had been Ezra Hendrickson's assistant coach, the interim after Hendrickson got fired, and there was zero improvement from the Chicago Fire from one coach to the next, from Klopas as interim to Klopas as head coach. He is just not an MLS manager at any level. And, I joke with a small sector of fans here that the only constant in the Chicago Fire for the last 10 years has been losing and Frank Klopas. And as much as we love him as a former player, as a Chicago guy, as someone who bleeds red for the Fire, he should not be anywhere near the sideline or anywhere near these players. Let him retire up to his, VP office somewhere and just shake hands and take photos and, hang out and kind of cheerlead for some of these younger players. But when we saw that he was brought back as the head coach last season, full-time head coach, everybody knew, this is just a placeholder. There's no way he is going to be here for the long term. And it was a matter of finding the right person to plug in. A lot of people wanted to see Jesse Marsh come in, but for whatever reason, they never worked out or never even reached out to him. So they were really looking for a good candidate, someone who had a vision. And we've heard about it more recently that they were not looking for someone in a dual role that Greg Berhalter has as director of sport and head coach. They kind of see the writing on the wall with the way the league is going. You're moving away from that model, right? The Peter Vermeeses of the world aren't going to be the ones bringing this league into the future. But because Berhalter had such a good vision, such a good plan, and also I think he had such a great network amongst other coaches and players from his days as the Columbus coach, as the USMNT coach, that if any one person was going to be the dual role, it is going to be Greg Berhalter. And I really do think give him 2-3 years, and then he will transition fully into that front office executive role.
And that's what I was going to ask about too, is what's kind of the vibe around the team and everything now with him coming in and obviously implementing the system, knowing it's going to take a little bit of time. But overall, just like what's the anticipation, or is there a level of excitement going into the season, even if the results maybe aren't there right away, just as everyone's getting accustomed to everything he brings?
Sure. I mean, this is the most excited we've been since last offseason, right, guys? Like, that's just kind of how it goes here in Chicago, regardless of what sports team you're looking at. But no, there really is a high level of excitement around this. We know that Greg Berhalter is going to implement an actual style of play, that he's going to have principles of play. He's going to have specific formations he wants to run. Nothing we've seen in the last several years. We know that he's going to establish a culture within the locker room, something that we have been missing for several years. There's rumors of a lot of conflict between Xherdan Shaqiri, Kai Kamara, and whoever else it is, between the players and the coaches, or just the coaches losing the locker room early on. So we know Berhalter is going to be able to establish that kind of culture in the locker room, but he's also establishing a culture within the sporting side of the franchise as well. So we're very excited for that. And I've said it on other shows. I think the best offseason signing is Greg Berhalter. For all the players they've brought in, 11 or 12 first-team contracts I think they've given out in the last offseason here. The biggest signing is Greg Berhalter. You also, looking tactically, they've brought in a number of wingers and attacking midfielders. So they're going to want to play that ball up the wing. Berhalter's typical 4-3-3 is what we've been seeing in the preseason. They're going to want to target Hugo Kuipers, assuming he's healthy. We haven't seen him feature yet this preseason. But other than that, you can expect this team to have high energy and probably press a little higher up the field than what you've seen from Chicago in the past.
Typical 4-3-3 is a news to me, because all he ever did in Columbus was run a 4-2-3-1, and that was so predictable. I think I was telling you when me and you were talking with Daniel from Battered Herons about it when he got announced. But his first time being back in Columbus as an MLS coach, I would assume the reception is going to be good. Granted, he got us to a final in 15, which was fine. It's just players didn't play to the whistle. That hurts still. But what is your expectation for Berhalter leading into the season?
Well, if you want to look at kind of the intangible stuff, it's what I've already mentioned: getting a style of play, getting a culture in the locker room, establishing a Chicago Fire mentality. And if you want to look at even off the first team, they're working to establish a pipeline and a uniform training and scouting and talent identification from the youth system through the academy, through CF2 to the first team. One of their stated goals is getting 5 or 6 homegrowns on the first team roster in the near future. So those are kind of all the off-field intangibles. You want expectations for results? Playoffs. I think every MLS team should say playoffs is the bare minimum. Whether you're San Jose or Chicago, or whether you're Columbus, Cincinnati, Miami, like, you should say playoffs is the bare minimum when we're getting 7 teams in plus the play-in game. Now, what I really think the Fire are going to end up, I think if things break their way, maybe they end up in that 6th spot. I think more so they're going to be around that 8, maybe 9 seed when all is said and done in the Eastern Conference. We're still kind of waiting for Columbus to pick up a couple new attacking players to really see how they're going to be this upcoming weekend and where you guys are going to fall in the standings. But I think if you want to look at standings and where you're going to be, you got to look at the other team signings. And the East is still a pretty darn good conference.
Yeah, I've seen that model that Berhalter wants. I feel you guys are copying off of Columbus's page. Taking that model. But you talk about the expectations and all that coming into the first game. What do you think Berhalter is saying? Coming up against Columbus for the first time since since he left. What was it? 16, 17.
18.
18. So for the first time in 7 years that he's actually back on the touch lines. In Columbus, what's the message that he's going to be given to the team?
Well, I don't think he's going to veer too far from what he's been telling the public. We want to play an exciting up-tempo brand of soccer. And I know every coach says that. And every coach is going to tell you it's going to be an exciting game to watch regardless of the outcomes, right? But I think that's really what he's been working towards with this group in the preseason, to play up-tempo, to play attacking, to play fearless, to tell people that Chicago is not the same doormat in MLS as it's been for the last 7 years or 8 years. When did we make the playoffs? 2017? Yeah, so I think that's the message he's going to send. And you guys know Berhalter, he's all business, right? He is going to have his team ready to go, ready to play in Columbus against a very, very good Columbus side, despite the losses this offseason. So no one's taking anything for granted, and I think he's going to have his team ready to play. Now, you still going to beat us on the counterattack 2-3 times? Maybe. We've still got a lot of new players who have to gel, especially in the defensive side of the ball, but I don't think you're going to see it be for a lack of effort or a lack of any sort of tactical identity.
Yeah, and you brought up the signings too, and that's one thing I was interested in hearing about is who, in your mind or in the fandom, is kind of the one they're most looking forward to and contributing, hopefully right away.
Sure. I think it's going to be Jonathan Bamba, who is the new designated player for the Fire, coming over from Celta Vigo in Spain. So he has gotten on the score sheet a couple of times, picked up 1 or 2 assists in the preseason. So he is looking the part as a creator. I still think that the Fire's attack is going to be focused on Hugo Kuipers, assuming he's in good health, or at least throughout the course of the season. He is going to be the main focus of the attack. But you've got Bamba coming off the wing. You have Philip Zinkernagel coming in from Club Brugge, who's playing on the other wing. And then you have Romanique Kwame, who is on loan from Cadiz in Spain, coming in centrally. So you've rebuilt your entire attack, essentially. And those are the guys who the focus is going to be on. But if there is one new signing to watch, absolutely the designated player, Jonathan Bamba.
What is it about him that that fans love about him? Because me personally, I've heard the name, haven't seen much of the style of play. But what do you think is going to be that attractive feature of his style of play that fans are going to be like, this guy's going to be the face of the Chicago Fire?
Right. He could be the number 2 goal scorer on the team, which I think is a very exciting prospect for fans. I mean, last year we had Kuipers as our leading goal scorer with 10, and then it was kind of like, who else is going to contribute here, right? And we never had that secondary goal scorer, let alone much of an offense to go with it. So again, I still think Kuipers is going to be your main focus over the course of the season. But what's great about Bamba is if you look back in his career, his best season from a stats perspective was the 2020-21 season with Lille over in France when they won the league title. And he had double-digit goals that season and a number of assists as well. So the man does know how to find the back of the net. But over the last several years, whether it's in France or in Spain, he's been more of a contributor, been playing more wide and asked to not be the primary goal scorer, but be more of a chance creator, secondary, tertiary scorer to that nature. So if he can complement Hugo Kuipers, if he can be a guy who's an outlet for our midfield, for our defense. You guys know Berhalter likes those diagonal balls, right? So if he can be the outlet for those and really spring the offense, then yeah, he is going to quickly become the Chicago fan favorite. We were at the jersey launch yesterday for their, or on Saturday for their new away kit, and you already saw people getting Bamba customized across the back of their kits. So he's already in the minds of fans, and I'm pretty sure he'll be showing up even more on the score sheet.
Sitting back as a Fire fan, when you look at Columbus, despite us losing Cucho and Christian, what's still gonna scare you as a fan of the Fire? Whoever's left on the team, who's going to scare you guys the most, especially with, like you said, 12, 13 new players still haven't really gelled yet. What's going to scare you about that?
Yeah. Well, Diego Rossi has always been a guy who I think I love him on my team. I hate him if he's on the other team. Like, he's one of those players. So the fact that he's still on Columbus just kind of just irks me a little bit. I'm like, great, this guy could have just an amazing game against a Chicago defense trying to put it together on game one. So that scares me a little bit. The other thing, there's some chatter from a lot of Chicago Fire fans about how Chris Brady should be getting these USMNT call-ups over Patrick Schulte. That's a big topic of conversation among Chicago Fire fans. And so now, week one, after a January camp where we saw Brian Gutierrez, Chicago Fire midfielder, finally get his call-up and get some minutes in the red, white, and blue, Fire fans are going to be looking at Patrick Schulte a little bit more under a microscope to see if he really is, that next USMNT keeper, or if Chris Brady should be getting those minutes and those call-ups. So those are a couple things that we're going to keep an eye out for. And then I think, just to get back to your question more, that your back line is still a very good back line. They know how to get forward into attack. They know how to keep their shape and stymie the Chicago Fire offense or any other offense. And that's been a problem for the Fire over the 2024 season. When they had possession, they didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't get that pass, that line-breaking pass, that key pass to set up a shot. So that still scares me a little bit, especially, a team that still has Wilfried Nancy and the confidence of the Columbus Crew.
Not to mention Patrick Schulte just signed that multi-year contract extension today, so I guess we will see. Go ahead, Derek.
They extended him. Well, good for him, man. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad keeper, but maybe it's a little homer in me here in Chicago. Maybe it's the fact that Chris Brady is just gets bombarded with shot after shot after shot because of our defense last year. And I'm just like, the guy's better than the numbers show. People even say he's better than Gaga Slonina, who, as we know, got bought up for some record fee in Chelsea. There are people who are saying that Brady, at worst, has a higher ceiling than Slonina, and just for the fact that the Fire have been playing so poorly, he's not getting any looks.
Well, I'm excited to see this matchup then, because I did not know this about their keeper, but I'm totally here for it. That would be fun to watch. Do you anticipate Chicago fans coming down for the game? Because I know in the past sometimes they have a really big group that comes down, and other times not as much. And I know just with traveling in general, but being the first game, I didn't know if we should expect a large contingency.
They're coming. They're bringing the heat, so it's going to warm up a little bit for you guys this weekend. I know we're talking
about the warm. We'll take the warm weather.
Yeah, there's one of the biggest supporter groups, Sector Latino, has organized a bus. Mm-hmm. They've got their allotment of away tickets. So nice. Yeah, there will be at least one, maybe two busloads of Chicago Fire fans that are coming with them. Also, Columbus is the closest away match for the Chicago Fire. So you're going to see a lot of other fans decide like this is the away game that they're going to this season, even if it is the season opener. So yeah, get ready to see some red in the stands, guys.
Not Minnesota?
No, Minnesota's maybe another hour or two away if you're driving.
Yeah.
Oh.
But who wants to go north? Nobody.
Yeah, it's colder up there than it is here
anymore, man. At worst, we're just going to stay level going over to Columbus.
So looking ahead to Saturday, right? Again, kickoff 7:30 at Lower.com Field. what is going to be the biggest lookout to start the season? I would assume you've probably seen some preseason matches of the Fire. We haven't seen anything from the Columbus Crew except for a 4-1 scoreline against Nashville. But what's one thing that you are going to look out for to start off the season that could be like, oh, this is going to go downhill fast, or oh my God, we could actually kick Columbus ass. We could actually kick Columbus's ass on Saturday.
Well, I think you want to look at the first defensive laps. That's what I'm going to look for. When the Fire have a breakdown on defense the first time in the match, are they going to think that this is going to be another repeat of last season? Whether they give up a goal or not, or if Brady has to bail them out with a great save, are they going to get down and say, crap, dude, here we go again. Nothing has changed. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because of the turnover, because of the new coaching staff and what they're trying to instill in these players. But that is something I am going to look for from guys who were on the roster last season. If they are going to be able to forget everything that happened last year, play within this new system, play within themselves, and play with a little confidence. So a lot of body language, a lot of off-the-ball movement are going to be very indicative of how the Chicago Fire are coming into this match. But, man, if they can hit on a counter, or if they can get a good spell of possession early on, then I think you're going to see a rejuvenated and new Chicago Fire squad. Get that first shot off. Let's get that first shot. Get that rip. See what happens. Get that first tackle in. Get some studs on a guy. See the reaction there. I don't think this is a Chicago Fire team that's going to come out and try and be physical and scuff a little bit with everybody, but at the same time, set the tone. You got Carlos Terán, you got Jack Elliott, you've got big dudes in the back for the Chicago Fire. You've got Kellen Acosta. He plays with a little chippiness. So there could be some physical play. And if the Fire come out like that too, I'm going to be real excited for the rest of the season, let alone the first match.
I mean, he still has a grudge against Columbus from 23. But do you think Chris Brady sort of might be, when playing Columbus, look out for that beyond half field, beyond midfield, shot?
I get what you're saying. We've seen it happen a lot more lately, not just in MLS, but around the world. I think keepers have to be aware of it. How can you not be? It's on the highlights every week where there's someone's trying to chip the keeper. The only problem with that is the style of play. Keepers are playing up. They're playing like a sweeper. They're playing like another defender. So if that's more important, having that extra man available along the back line to distribute and move the ball around, you're gonna run the risk of getting chipped like that. So is Columbus good enough to do it? Like who on your squad you think is going to be able to test Brady from half field?
Absolutely no freaking body.
I beg to defer on that, but
who? Name one player that could absolutely chip a goalkeeper from 60 plus yards out. I'll tell you right now, the only player I've seen do that now plays back in Belgrano. And the other guy plays for Real Betis.
Our next signing, that's not coming anytime soon.
On Friday, he's going to come in and do it.
Hey, impossible is an opinion. Okay.
Yeah, I like to think we have well-supported opinions.
I mean, Chicago, the Fire should have supported opinions over the years.
That's true. I'll tell you, I don't have much of a leg to stand on as far as recent history goes, but it's a brand new season, so I'm gonna be fired up right now.
Derek,
what's like one player that may be like below the radar that like for you think could have a breakout year, or even just in this game, somebody who is not maybe one of the main ones that you would think of, but like, we saw last year, we had a few guys who kind of, took that mantle later on in the season that maybe weren't, one of our top three guys initially.
Yeah. So there's a couple names that come to mind. The first one is a common name. You guys already know him, Brian Gutierrez. He's one of the homegrowns from Chicago. He set himself a goal last season of 15 total goal contributions. I think he ended up around 8 or 9. So he did not have a good season. He did not have a lot of direction or help from the rest of his team. And when you're playing alongside Xherdan Shaqiri for half a season, like he's just lobbing long balls up front, you're really not doing much to build the offense. So even though we all kind of know who Brian Gutierrez is, because of the fact that he got that USMNT call up and that he actually did contribute a little bit in those friendlies in January, I think he could take the next step and be not just, a good Chicago player, but a good MLS player, above average MLS player. They already put him in the Celsius ads last season, so somebody in the league thinks that he's got potential. So I'd keep an eye on Brian Gutierrez to take the next step. But a guy that the rest of the league probably don't know about, I would say, is Sergio Ortahel. He actually plays with the US U20s. So if you're following the youth national team, you may know who he is. He has had some very good games for the Chicago Fire in a central midfield role during the preseason. Plays a little bit more, I think, of a defensive midfielder, but definitely is playing more centrally. So he's a guy that you could see coming in late game situation, subbing in for Kellen Acosta, subbing in for Gutierrez, or whoever it may be in the middle, and just kind of holding things out and seeing the game out. Again, something the Chicago Fire need to learn how to do from last year.
Gerald?
You mentioned, Gutierrez playing, alongside Shaqiri. What didn't Gutierrez get hurt sometime in the season for, a little bit of time to where, his numbers could have been more?
Yeah, he did have some time off. I'm actually trying to remember if it was one or two injuries, because there was one supposedly he pulled a groin the week of his 21st birthday. So people were kind of scratching their heads like, what were you doing celebrating your 21st birthday that all of a sudden you show up with a groin pull? I don't know. So I'm trying to remember if there's something else that occurred where he needed to have some time off. But yeah, it could have improved his numbers. I don't know if it would have improved, 5 or 6 different goal contributions for him. He does like to get forward. I think if you want to compare him, call him a poor man, Ricky Pooch. Like, he wants to pick the ball up and drive it forward, and that's when he is at his best. And when he gets into that final third, look for a quick little give and go, a little 1-2. He's not afraid to shoot from 20 yards out. We saw him add that to his game last season. So he is a guy that could produce. But yeah, maybe the injuries would have helped him pick up another 3-4 goal contributions, but I don't know if it would have been enough to really impact the season.
Nick, it's always fun talking Fire with you, man. You're very knowledgeable. Really hope we beat you guys on Saturday, though.
Why we play the game.
But how are we looking lineup wise on Saturday? What's the predicted lineup there?
Yeah, so definitely Chris Brady will be starting in net, barring some freak accident in training. If you're going to go from left to right on the defense, I'm looking at Andrew Gutman, Jack Elliott, Carlos Turan, and Leo Barroso. Another new signing. He's a Portuguese youth international. They just brought him over from Lisbon. I think he's only 19 years old, but he's another player to keep an eye on, someone who could really make an impact in MLS once he kind of gets his feet under him. I think in the midfield, you're going to see Kellen Acosta, Brian Gutierrez, and Romanique Kwame starting. And then your attacking three, Philip Zinkernagel on the left, Jonathan Bamba on the right, and Hugo Kuipers up top. If Kuipers is not healthy and fully fit for Saturday, I hesitate to say his name, gentlemen, but we may see Tom Barlow starting for the Chicago Fire on Saturday. That could be a real possibility. They had a backup striker, David Poreba. He won the Golden Boot in MLS Next Pro, tore his ACL in preseason, so he is done for this season probably. And then there's really just a drop off after that. So we were kind of hoping the Fire would add another striker. I was kind of hoping to see Yorgos Koutsias stay on the roster. He's out on loan to our sister club in Lugano. But yeah, we could be a little thin up top for the first week or two if Hugo Kuipers is not fully fit.
Can you say that name again? I think it was your left mid or left winger, whatever. The closer to the end.
Oh, the Greek player who we loaned out. That guy, Yorgos Koutsias.
No, there was Zink something.
Oh yeah, Philip Zinkernagel.
That is
Awesome.
a name.
That's the
Oh,
jersey everybody needs to get right there.
that's the name. Where is he from?
Started by the letter, I think. So I don't know, but yeah,
Where's he from?
came over from Club Bruges. He was the first
my.
real signing. That was like a non MLS Next Pro signing that they moved up. He was their first big signing of the offseason. Left winger, had a good season in Bruges, and it's going to contribute. He's a playmaker, so that's what we're looking forward to.
Oh wow. Okay. That's a name. That's awesome.
Zinc. Out for Zinc. Take your vitamins, boys.
Oh my gosh. All right. Prediction time. How we looking?
Well, we're down a little bit on offense. You guys are down a little bit on offense.
A little.
Weekend's going to be cold. Say 1-1 draw.
Hey, we got six
off the
keepers.
bat. Six.
Yep. There's Patrick, Evan, Stas, Romero, Hagen, and there's the other one that was signed.
Who?
There's a 19 one that they're finalizing,
From is he French?
I think.
It was the Tom Bogert. Was it a Tom Bogert thing?
I don't remember.
I was about to say that was definitely fake.
Okay, well,
I'll have to pull it out. I think I know what you're talking about, but that was definitely fake. You're saying 1-1? Nick?
I'll say 1-1. We need to get the team gelling together a little bit, and but I think they'll make it tough for Columbus in the opener.
All right, Derek, what do you say?
I was thinking 2-1 Crew. And I think Jason Russell Rowe is going to show us what he's been doing in the offseason and at least one goal. The other one, Rossi, I guess, for lack of a better other option. He would seem to be the one that we'll mostly assume will be scoring most this year. But that's kind of what I was thinking earlier today when I was thinking about it.
Gerald.
Is he going to have more shots on goal or more minutes arguing with the referee? That's what I want to know.
Nick brings up a very good point, though. Because Rossi does argue with the ref a lot.
That when Columbus was in Chicago last season, a lot of fans were like, "What's with this guy?"
That was I'm not happy about that. Gerald. Did we lose Gerald?
3-0.
Oh, he was thinking.
Oh.
That's
scored?
bold.
3-0. All right.
Who scores?
Yeah.
I think you get a goal from DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones or Rossi. You get one from Nagby because he ain't get one last year. And, of course, Jason gets a header off of a cross from Chambos.
So 4-0.
No, so 3. So the first one is either DeJuan Jones or
you're saying either one of those.
One.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm going to roll with Nick on this one. I got 1-1 with Chicago getting a very, very late equalizer because we can't close out games for some reason.
That'd be painful.
Oh my gosh. So I got 1-1. Are you making the trip, by the way?
No, I will not be making the trip.
Oh, you need to come to Columbus.
It's on my. I'll tell you, my 8-year-old son, every year for the last 3 years, like for my birthday, can we go to a Columbus game? For my birthday, can we go to a Columbus game? Like that's his away trip. For some reason, he wants to get out to a Crew match.
It's a great time. It is a great time. I'll tell you that.
Bring some Italian beef and what's the hot dog spot out there?
Oh yeah, Portillo's hot dogs, man.
Yep.
Speaking of, really quick, is it true?
Yes.
That I think you might have talked to Chris from Battered Hands about this. Ketchup in a hot dog or something like that?
That is a no inside Chicago city limits. You do not put ketchup on a hot dog.
I love that.
No. You put spicy sport peppers, mustard on a poppy seed bun.
That's it. A little tomato, a little onion, a little relish, but no ketchup.
No.
So I can't just walk into Soldier Field with a hot dog and ketchup on it.
If you did that, fans would know you're looking to start a discussion.
Do they serve ketchup even in the stadium?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the concessions, but if you're caught putting ketchup on your hot dog, like there's nothing I can do to help you.
That is
I l-
crazy.
They didn't have ketchup in the press box.
Really?
Well, yeah, because we get food, like food.
They had the hot dogs there too to make a Chicago dog, and there was no ketchup. It was just mustard, spicy sport peppers, some relish, some pickle spears, onions, tomatoes.
Well, there you go.
Tomatoes on a hot
I
dog.
said if
Yeah.
you're going to be here, you're going to be
Yeah.
eating how we do. No ketchup
Oh
allowed.
my gosh.
I just want some Italian beef. Let me go to Frank's
that's
place.
Yeah. Nick, where can the kind people who listen to our show find you at?
Well, the wonderful people of Columbus, if they want to learn more about the great city of Chicago, they can come over and find me, the Feed the Fire podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or I'm on YouTube and social media at Glasshouse Soccer.
Nick, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. Appreciate you always, and hopefully we have a good game on Saturday.
That's what I'm looking forward to, guys. It's been great talking with you all. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Nick,
us.
before you go,
Yeah.
Good.
you think we'll ever get a mustard ketchup game again?
Oh, I was just
Mustard
thinking about
ketchup
this.
game. Oh, that could be fun. I mean, I think the club wants to push their new secondary kit, but I'd love to see it. I would love to see it, man.
Maybe we'll find out when the kits get when we get our match day guide this
Yeah.
week
There's
what
no
the
way
uniforms
they're
are.
not doing the Goosebumps
I mean,
kit.
If you want to have a real conversation about it, like we'll see what the keepers are wearing too. Because if Adidas's keeper kits are yellow, then I don't think that'll work. But
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that would be fantastic. And then you really could talk about ketchup on a hot dog at that point.
Now, if they do it in Chicago, is your primary the kit red? Is it that one you're wearing right now?
Yes, yeah. This was
So-
the new primary they released last season. They hadn't had a red primary kit in like 4 or 5 years, so it was a huge deal for the fandom to get the red kit back. So this is what they'll be wearing as their primaries this year, and then the secondary kit is like a faded blue. It's not quite the blue of the Chicago flag, and it's like the letter Y interlocking throughout the jersey. So it's a cool design. Comes from the Chicago Municipal Seal, but yeah, if we can get that red yellow thing going, like you guys got a lot more connections than I do. Start whispering in the right people's ears. That could be some good marketing. Like there's a lot that can come of that.
It just sounds like trouble though, because if it's ketchup and mustard, and you guys are ketchup in Chicago, and that's a no-no, we got all the momentum we need on our side just right there.
Well, I get maybe a soccer pitch is more like a hamburger bun than a hot dog bun, so it's all right.
There it is.
I don't know.
And the official would have to wear the
I
green
don't
kit.
know.
The official would have to wear the green kit because then we get some mustard, relish, and ketchup.
Oh, I like it.
I love it.
That's just blasphemy. Thank you guys for tuning in to this first preview. Nick from Feed the Fire podcast, known as Glass House Soccer on social media. Thank y'all for tuning in. And you guys can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart, wherever you guys get your podcasts, or watch us on YouTube, Spotify, Goals TV. Make sure to follow me on social media at Fisher Tyler __. You guys can follow Gerald
Gerald _Lucas 96.
and Derek.
At Funky Moses 17.
Appreciate you guys once again. If you guys want to donate to the show, hit the supporter link in the description of the episode. And yeah, Jared, my friend, it's been fun. Derek's been fun. Nick, always a pleasure. And Gerald, as tradition goes, Wiseman say,
Only fools rush in.
peace out, everybody. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, stay hydrated, stay cool. Hug your loved ones. Go Crew.
Vamos, Columbus.